Welcome back. You're still watching Business Incorporated on Channels Television. Now, COVID-19 has caused major disruptions to shipping around the world, made worse by a recent outbreak of COVID among dock workers at the world's third busiest container port, Ningbo, and that's in China, which has reduced the port's capacity by a fifth. Well, we'll talk more about this and the impacts that it has on Africa, West Africa. We'll talk about this with Ted George, Chief Narrative Officer at Clear's Advisory UK, joining us. Hello, Ted. Good afternoon.
Hi. Good to be back.
Great to have you. So can you please paint a picture of how COVID has impacted the world of shipping?
Well, it's had an enormous impact. And the real problem is that so many of the value chains nowadays are just in time. The idea is you get the goods or you get the inputs at a time where you can get them out just in time to reach certain peaks in seasons. It's much more efficient and it saves money. But none of them were prepared for what happened when COVID hit. And the reality is too many of the world's containers are simply in the wrong place. There aren't enough of them in China. We also saw a lot of disruption in the Suez Canal as well. And of course, that's caused massive backlogs.
All right, and we do know that this, of course, will bring up some costs. How are the, the stakeholders, how are they running this cost? Are they just passing it to consumers? How are they managing the cost, the extra costs that come with this?
Well, it's astronomical, the increase in cost. If you look at a typical container from Shanghai to Rotterdam, now costs 14,000. That's 7 times what it was. 10 times as much from China to the west coast of the USA. And even Shanghai to West Africa is at the highest rate it's been for 20 years. So it's going to go through into the cost of goods, particularly things like sportswear, footwear. A lot of them come from Vietnam nowadays, and that was disrupted by COVID. And of course, there's a global shortage as well of conductors, semiconductors for electronics like smartphones, PlayStations, TVs. So I think what this means as we enter supposedly the shipping season ahead of Christmas, a lot of goods around the world are going to be slower to deliver and probably more costly, and quite possibly the models you want not available.
So is the situation better now? I mean, the U.S. has just given full approval for Pfizer, and a lot of countries are focusing a whole lot on vaccinating their citizens. Here in Nigeria, a lot of government officials or government arms are kind of, pushing it down that people need to get vaccinated. So is the situation better now?
Well, but it depends where you are in the world. I mean, the thing is, there's a real imbalance here in terms of vaccinations. Here in the UK, where I am, over 90% of the population have either been double vaccinated or already have the COVID antigens. So the fact is, we're still trying to see how the Delta variant plays out. But I think there is a switch now that a lot of people are recognizing. Those who were against vaccination for whatever their reasons are, who are starting to realize they need to get it. But the real trouble is it really comes down to public information, education, cultural as well. The real question, I think, in Africa is how can we get a lot more vaccines to Africa, because there are millions of people who definitely want it right away, even before we consider those who might be against it for whatever personal reasons.
So, what does this cost the continent, Africa, now? When we talk about the economy, we know that countries like Nigeria depend a whole lot on import. How is it this disruption? How much has it cost the continent?
Well, it's costing a huge amount, particularly when it comes to trade, because the thing is that the level of the volume of drop in trade has only been relatively light in West Africa, particularly Nigeria, only about 3% down, compared with more than 14% in regions like Southern Africa or East Africa. And that's because Nigeria continues to increase its imports from China, Europe and USA, over $50 billion estimated last year. But export volumes have fallen and values as well. And so it's got this really unsustainable, huge import deficit. It's got to consider how it's going to finance going forward. That has a real impact on everyone. It has an impact on prices and on the economy. And ultimately, Nigeria still has something like 15 container ships waiting to go into it because there's not the capacity there. So it's suffering the same kind of problems that the rest of the world's shipping routes are. They are strained at the moment. And that is going to mean reduction in certain goods, but also pushing up prices, which affects everyone.
Yeah, so that means the continent has to be ready for this Christmas and wonder how it will be. Well, thank you so much, Ted, for sharing your thoughts with us and exposing some of these things to us. So enjoy the rest of your day.